Hello and welcome back to the Jules with Gem podcast. I am your host GiGi and I hope you're well. If you're new, welcome. I'm honored to have you here. And if you're returning, I'm humbled to have you back. And to all my new subbies, welcome. You are the VIPs indeed. Thank you so much for the support. I hope that you and I can share and learn on this journey because it is definitely not a destination. So, as you may already know, because I mentioned this in all of my videos, I've mentioned that there are a total of 12 houses because I'm always just getting so tongue-tied. Every time I say 12 houses, I always find myself saying 12th houses. But yes, 12 houses, and each house is basically a segment or an area of life. Each house has a ruler, and that ruler is any of the 12 zodiac signs because there are 12 houses. So naturally, each and every house will have a ruler. So it doesn't matter whether or not you have planets in this house. Each and every house will have a sign that rules over it, and of course, depending on what sign is ruling over that house, that will determine the planet that rules over that particular house. So after the depths and the so-called darkness of the 8th house, we are now thrusted into the horizon of a new dawn, which is the 9th house. And how the 8th house is sort of the relationship with the deepest part of ourselves and how we project that onto other people. The 9th house is more about our relationship with the universe. And personally, I like to call the 9th house the house of why, because this is just that house where we ask ourselves those really, really important questions, such as who am I in the grand scheme of things? Who is the creator of the creator? What is my purpose? Am I aligned with the divine? What is the divine? It's just a house of spirituality, and is also a house that is extremely, extremely intuitive. And I don't even know why this house does not get credit for that. Honestly, I'd even say the 3rd, the 6th, and the 9th, and as well as the 11th house are those houses that are just the least noted when it comes to intuitiveness, but they are extremely intuitive, at least in my opinion. I would say Gemini is kind of intuitive in a way that can ask as well as answer questions, as it has an ability to think logically of all possible outcomes. It's the same situation with Virgo, although Virgo is just able to be a little bit more detailed and kind of zoom in, for lack of a better word, into situations. And then you have Sagittarius, which just kind of has, a bird's eye view, and it has the ability to provide a different perspective because of their life experiences or the experiences that they may have heard of from people that they may have had conversations with. Because remember, Sagittarius energy is all about learning, so that is how it basically acquires wisdom. Hence, I was saying that. Actually, I haven't even said that, so let me not even say it now. But yes, Sagittarius having just a bird's eye view and being able to provide a different perspective on things, and that allows them to think beyond what they can actually visually see. And of course, then we have Aquarius, which is just, naturally a forward thinker, is always thinking ahead, and just has an unorthodox way of solving problems and also providing fresh and new information as per usual, because these are the trendsetters, right? So if these are the trendsetters, then of course they must know something that we don't know, right? Which, is akin to intuitive abilities, or so I think. So I really think these are the houses that are extremely intuitive. Of course, not discrediting or forgetting the water houses. I think all houses are intuitive in their own way. I just think it's just very important for us to obviously establish or enhance those intuitive abilities in respect to what signs they may be in, if that makes sense. So the 9th house is the house of wisdom, and fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how where your perspective lies, this is not knowledge that you can just learn at an institution. This is more wisdom that's learned through experience. I think a lot of the time you'll find ninth houses really just go through a lot. Or even, Sagittarius suns as well, or even anyone really who has planets in this house, they just always are going through a lot, or they just always are knowledgeable about something or someone. And it's really because they really love stimulus, like any opportunity to learn, any opportunity to expand their knowledge, any opportunity to expand their higher consciousness, any opportunity to connect with the higher consciousness is forever going to be a party for them. It's going to be good vibes. They are always excited to learn something new about people, about experiences, about life, about virtually anything really. And that is how they are able to provide people with different perspectives, because they've either heard about it, or they've experienced it, or they've read about it. I don't know if I said that, but I just want to emphasize the fact that if ever you do have an issue with anything really, and you happen to have a ninth house, or a Sagittarius sun, moon, Venus, or whatever the case is, then they're definitely the people to talk to if you'd like a different perspective. So as I said, ninth houses just always have challenging experiences, and that's also how they kind of gain their wisdom. They just really go through a lot. But I think the one thing that I can really appreciate about them is that they just remain positive, because remember, Jupiter is a benevolent planet, so no matter what they may go through, they will constantly be optimistic. They will constantly be or have that spirit of, everything happens for a reason. I'm still alive. I can still achieve the things that I want to achieve, which really is honestly beautiful. Actually, planets actually like being in the ninth house, more so the sun, but of course I'll get into that later on in this segment. But honestly, they do have a way about them. Like I said, they do remain positive. They also like to share their experiences with everyone else, but it's not really in a pompous way. It's just more in a, this is what I've experienced, or this is what I know. This is, the knowledge that I can share with you. And I hope you can learn not to make the same mistakes that I did, or that somebody I read about did, or etc. etc. So it's just more about learning from them, because remember, they also are the teachers, they are the gurus. So essentially they would have gone through a couple of things and would be able to advise you in the best way that they can really. So the ninth house rules long distance travel as well, higher education, whether that be through college, university, or even just the university of life, your experiences, philosophy as well, culture, religion, just all of the aspects of life that really exposes to higher consciousness, basically, if I can put it that way. In my findings, I've realized that the sun really likes being in this house, as I've briefly mentioned before. It really likes being in this house because essentially the sun is our life force. So if you have a life force, so if your life force is in a house such as the ninth house, trust and believe that you will spend probably the rest of your life, I wouldn't really say searching for adventure, because that just seems, aimless, but you will constantly be on a quest. What that quest is definitely, up to the owner, but you are constantly going to be learning new things, meeting new people, experiencing different cultures, traveling to different places. Of course, depending on the planets that are in the ninth house, this will obviously either delay or speed up your traveling experiences. So one really has to be mindful of that. But I'm just mentioning the overall themes of this house. And this is the house of, you are just constantly, you are ever ready to just learn, you are ever ready to travel, you are ever ready to talk about philosophy, to talk about law, to talk about justice. You are ever ready to broadcast, because remember, the ninth house is also about broadcasting, publishing, communication, and communication that reaches global, not just like communication in your community or with your family, because of course the ninth house is opposite the third house, so it's more than just you talking to your siblings. It is more like your ability to communicate will take you really, really far, especially if you have a planet like Mercury in here. It just basically means that either your writing or your communication will be able to make you travel. Basically, it's even worse if Mercury is in the ninth house and is the ruler of the second house. Then you can already see the connection there. It just basically means that your communication is basically gonna enable you to travel, if that makes sense. So that's why I say it's just really, really amazing. It's really fascinating to study astrology, because you can see how things are interconnected, and the more you study is the more you start to fall in love with yourself, and the more you start learning to work with the energies that aren't so great. Because let's just face it, when I start talking about aspects and how really intense things can get, like, that is when you're gonna be like, okay, thank God I actually know about this aspect, and I can understand why I actually feel this way or react this way to certain things. It's almost like, honestly, getting to know or discovering your birth chart is almost like doing shadow work, because you are facing yourself according to the cosmos. Of course, take what resonates and kind of just leave the rest. But yes, not to go on a tangent, literally the sky is not even the limit here, honestly. This house promotes self-growth, self-awareness, through travel, conversation, maybe even just reading a book. Even just reading a book is as good as traveling. Even just reading a book about a specific country, or I'm not too sure what they call those books, but I'm just going to call them magazines for lack of a better word, but magazines with places whereby you can travel, where they have different countries in that book, maybe Monaco, or traveling to Bora Bora or Fiji or Thailand, or those types of books. That really expands the mind, that really stimulates the mind. So I think it's also quite interesting to note that the ruler of your ninth house could also give you sort of an indication of what you may study in university or even in college. So for example, if you have Libra or even Taurus in your ninth house, you may study something to do with fashion, or you may study law or even accounting, because we know Taurus is all about that money, honey. It's all about that money. So you might study fashion, like I said, which is a Venus. Have you ever seen a Libra or a Taurus that is just not concerned with how they look or how they put together things? I honestly think Libras and Tauruses are like the best dressed, like all the time, even if they do it without trying, actually, most of the time, majority of the time. So these are the people that really will study things that are creative, things that would make them work with their hands. If not their hands, then things that would enhance their environment, really. Things that they like working in spaces or being in spaces that are beautiful and comfortable and luxurious. It doesn't help, to add a tint of luxury, or even heaps of it, actually. But yeah, you get the point. Libra or or Taurus here would really give you an inclination to study something creative, like I said, fashion or interior designing, perhaps even being a chef, because of course it's all about the senses when it comes to Taurus. Libra to a certain extent as well. You may even study, law, becoming, a judge, because of course, Libra's got to do with justice and it's got to do with balance. So really trying to balance the world essentially, or trying to balance the justice system, whichever way you look at it. Really trying to bring justice to the people, to the community, to the world at large, maybe even. Also checking to see where Venus is could also give you an indication of where or what type of creative sort of degree or diploma you'd actually study for. I would imagine that if you have, let's say, Libra or Taurus in the 9th house, and then your Venus is in the 5th house, then you'd probably study something along the lines of drama or arts, or it just really depends, of course. And also the aspects to Venus also matter in this case. But yeah, usually very creative type of endeavor there. Or maybe if you have a planet like Capricorn or even Saturn, you may study something along the lines of business management or management in general, or any type of course that will ensure stability or perhaps allow you to become entrepreneurial. So that could be, like I said, studying business. That could be you studying something very conservative, like even accounting, auditing, that kind of a thing would really be up Capricorn's alley. So as I mentioned earlier, the 9th house is the house of truth. Actually, I don't think I'd mentioned that. I think I said spirituality, but yes, the 9th house is about truth. So anybody who has planets in the 9th house is definitely going to be about truth. They really don't like liars. They really cannot tolerate anything that is not honest, and it's really hard for these individuals, because already we are uncovering so much about the world. As we grow older, we uncover so much about ourselves. We uncover so much about our parents, our families, and people close to us. So it's really, really hard for these people to even maintain relationships, because once the trust is kind of severed, then it's really hard to go back to the way that it was, essentially. So really do be sensitive to how you treat these people and what it is that you actually say to them, because the likelihood of them trusting you is very slim. I think that's also why they don't really trust the world so much, and that's why they're always trying to seek their own truth, because honestly, or seek their own truth, and that could be whatever resonates with them, honestly speaking. So it does not have to resonate with the rest of the world. As long as it resonates with them, that's all they need. They are definitely good to go. So a lot of the time they may even get a lot of hate for that, because it's like, why do you believe in that? Why are you so philosophical? Why, just let them be and continue with your life and drink your water. Like I said, this is the house of truth, so they will always be thinking about why. This is the house where we try to discover why things work the way they work, why things function the way they function, and I think most importantly, just kind of like, what is the role of self in this entire whole why? Like, okay, yes, universe, you made me, but for what? And then, it's like, okay, I know I'm here, I'm existing in this earth right now, but what is it that you need me to do on this earth? What is it that I am actually here for? So, and I don't know if maybe you had listened to one of my one of my videos prior, but I actually mentioned the fact that I don't believe that everyone has came here for the sole purpose of chasing money, of chasing the bag, or chasing material things, or we can't all be here for the same purpose. Like, that makes absolutely no sense. Like, why would we even be brought on this earth for that purpose only? So I think it's very important that we become sensitive to other people that are not material chasers, or that are not wealth chasers, or you guys get what I'm saying, and do it without any judgment as well. So what I was actually trying to say there, I'd mentioned in my previous videos that I am just convinced that we are not all here for the same purpose. We cannot be all here just to make money. Like, there's no way. So surely we all have different things that we are supposed to be doing, and that is essentially what the ninth house is about. It's about finding those things to live for. It's about finding those things that validate our purpose, really, and finding our purpose and alignment really to a higher source of divinity, and trying to make sense of that. Because I feel with this type of energy, or with this ninth house energy, it's so easy for things to change overnight, because remember, this is a mutable, it's mutable, like Sagittarius is mutable, so things change like all the time. So I think it's very important to have a sign on this cusp that is very adaptable and flexible in terms of changing its views, so that you can just be a little bit more open-minded. Because again, the ninth house is about broader things, broader concepts, higher consciousness, higher knowledge, higher, just think higher and higher. Okay, higher and higher. So overall, the ninth house is just vibes, honestly, positive vibes for sure. And this is simply because of the influence of Jupiter, which like I said is the most benevolent planet in the zodiac. It's all about exploration, like I said, in this house, whether that be physically or even mentally. People who either have a sun in Sagittarius or ninth house placements tend to have spiritual and psychic abilities, as I'd mentioned prior. Sometimes the dreams that they have may offer knowledge or even foresight. And I've noticed personally that when I speak, when I say things, sometimes even when I'm explaining something to somebody else, like, it helps me understand it better. Or sometimes when I read something, I can instantly pick up on what is being said a lot of the times, and I can explain it to other people in a way that's very simplistic, or in its simplest form. And I almost provide like a new perspective or even new insight on that issue that is difficult to understand or even resolve. So it's really it's one of the ninth house really is one of those houses that I absolutely adore. So if you have any planets here, a lot of emphasis will be on finding your own spiritual path, on traveling, finding wisdom, teaching, most importantly, publishing, and broadcasting. As always, I need to bring it close to home, just so that you can understand the energy better. I have a few planets in my ninth house, and basically I'm using my life force, which is my sun, to educate, which is a ninth house theme, educate others about my spiritual path and journey, and hope to learn from others as well, because remember, Sagittarius is about the bigger picture. So it's not just only about me and my experiences, but it's also me taking in others' experiences and also allowing that to become part of my wisdom, if I can put it that way. So yes, to educate, which is a ninth house theme, others about my spiritual path and my journey, which is a Neptunian theme, because I also have Neptune in the ninth house, which is something that I do through a broadcasting medium, which is also a ninth house theme. However, I also have Mercury here, so it really makes sense as to why I'm even doing what I'm doing right now. It makes total sense as to why I have a podcast discussing this. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the beauty of astrology and studying one's chart. Of course, a reminder, tubers, to take what resonates and leave the rest. I always hope to bring clarity in the understanding or study of astrology, and I hope you have understood a little bit more about the ninth house and its influence. In my next video, I will be discussing the 10th house and its influence in our chart and how that translates into our real waking life. And on that note, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Show me some love and subscribe to my channel if you'd like and feel I have brought value to your understanding of astrology. And as always, your time spent is much appreciated. Till next time, you know what you do. So keep doing what you do. Peace, love, and most of all, light. I'm out.